Good morning, everyone. Welcome to IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Tex Homer. That's Coach Dub and Eric Nalleen. If you guys could see out my window, me and Coach Dub are in DFW. So we just got a winter wonderland going on right now. Is it snowing in Houston, Eric, or just cold?
It's just been cold since I've been home. I don't know if it snowed or not. I think I saw one of the readers on IT say they got a little snow, but I haven't gotten any.
You haven't heard any? I have to see with Austin. I know some of our guys were dealing with some power outages.
Yeah.
Today, we are going to talk about the defense, post portal, what that means. And then, of course, fire off your questions. We're here to answer all of those. Before we do that, head over to Inside Texas. You can join for just $1 right now for new members only. Old members, we still love you, but you're already there. So stay there. Everyone, join $1. It's the first link in the description. All right, let's pull it up and get after it as I try to get properly energized. Oh, this snow is like making me tired. All right, let's start with defensive end / edge. I'll try to avoid showing the result ahead of time. Give a little bit of suspense. All right. This is what I noticed when I did the video with Jet and Drew. We went through this, who had the most snaps on like DT and end, and you're returning almost everyone, and that's a huge piece. So, of course, we had Burke, Colin Simmons. You guys have heard of him. Trey Moore heading out. Lance Jackson, excited about that. Brad Spence. Hold on to Zeno, which I thought was big. Every time I watch him pass rush, I'm really excited about him. And then keep Vosick around too. So that's a big piece. And then we introduce a couple. Justice Terry coming in. Smith Orogbo got some snaps like late in games. He has a really, really fast get off. And then you bring Richard Wesley into the mix. So, Eric, what is your analysis? You feeling good about returning?
I mean, how can you not? It's an amazing room. I asked the older folks on IT this morning. I'll see the answers when I get back over there. What was the best duo that Texas has ever had at DN? Whatever it is, I'm not sure it's going to be better than what they have next year, especially from an NFL draft upside standpoint. Simmons is going to go top 5, maybe first non-quarterback taken. Lance Jackson has a chance to do that the following year, actually. So they're loaded. And then you got Justice Terry, who everybody's excited about. He fills an important role, I think, I have him there as a 4-eye. I don't think you got Lance Jackson, Colton, Zena from when they play 5 tech. But I think Justice is going to play there, 4-eye and D tackle. Brad Spence, they wanted to take an edge in this portal window, even though I'm not sure that they truly needed it. They were just being aggressive. But I think that might signal that Brad Spence is going to play more at linebacker. We'll see. And then, as you said, keeping Zena, he's got that pass rush with that long arm that he likes to use. He's just going to keep getting more and more physical. Colton Vosick, great getting him back. Like you said, Smith, serious upside there. He still needs a big offseason. He's not ready for prime time yet. But if Brad Spence plays linebacker, then Smith is going to have to get out there and spell Colin Simmons at times. Overall, the loss of Burke, I think Burke had a sensational year, but as I say right there, Burke replaced Barron Sorrell, and we're seeing Barron Sorrell do some good things in the NFL. We're about to see the same thing where Burke is going to go do some good things in the NFL, but Lance Jackson is going to step in and probably wreck shop even more than Burke did.
Yeah, he's at the Shrine Bowl right now, right? Which I was excited to go to and watch because I love the practice element of that. And then, of course, all the weather comes. So I guess all the media, they're just held up in that hotel right there so they can easily get there. But coming from Denton, I was like, I cannot get there.
Nah, you wouldn't have made it.
Yeah. Coach, your thoughts on the edge room?
I love it. I love the fact we're getting Zena back. I think Eric wrote about this earlier, mid-season, how Zena had one of the fastest get-offs next to Colin Simmons, right? So you want to see that mature more and see if the light bulb fully comes on and he becomes a guy that can bag up Colin full-time. Then, like you said, you got Lance Jackson. Look, that's an explosive edge room that most people don't have in the country, right? Like you talk about, it's could be not just one of the best in the SEC, but in the entire country. So these younger guys really bring it on, man. Behind Colin Simmons, I think you got an explosive pass rush that can give quarterback nightmares. Speaking of Sam Darnold going to the NFL, going to the Super Bowl. I know a few years ago when he played for the Jets, he said he was seeing ghosts. Like these guys can have quarterbacks seeing ghosts and not knowing where a pass rush is coming from. So you add in Brad Spence, who can play linebacker and edge and mix it up when you want to go maybe a NASCAR package type. Like they can bring pressure from anywhere, no matter where they line up. So I love this edge room a lot.
Yeah, I had Brad Spence at linebacker and edge. He's going to replace Trey Moore the way I see it. Sort of a similar body type. I mean, Spence is built like very few other people, but the size length thing. Not exactly the same game, but sort of the same ability of playing off ball, maybe built more like an off ball linebacker, but still have that really good pass rush and off the edge. But like Coach just said, you can bring it from multiple angles. So we'll see. That stuff's going to play out over probably the next few weeks. We're going to find out so much more about this team. There's a lot of little mysteries that we'll solve. That's what the offseason's for. As the coaches solve them, we'll figure them out.
We're doing a pass rushing Colin Simmons tape study for the defensive film study. So yesterday I watched Colin Simmons' 3 highest, most pressure games. And while doing that, I got to watch everyone else too. And Zena has a pretty advanced move set. He was doing swipes. He was doing long arm, like Eric said. He could bull rush. So I got to see a lot of these guys too, just naturally watching Colin, and I got more excited for the room. And Colin's more advanced in his moveset. I kind of in my head, I was just kind of like, I don't know if Colin has the wide range of abilities to win, because to me in my head, he's more of a speed rusher. But no, he was speed rushing counter. He would do bull rush. I was much more impressed with Colin's full move set after watching every snap from him too. So that's
it's like a basketball player that's a hell of a dunker, and you just kind of overcompensate for that. His quickness in the backfield is so amazing and mind blowing that he's at the mesh point in the blink of an eye and making plays due to quickness. But he also has refined skill. Lee Allen Clark is a hell of a coach, man. And, I think PK's done a really good job developing edges. Look at what he did at Washington with a bunch of 3-stars. Yeah. Colin does. I think we do just kind of look at his athletic traits and kind of turn a blind eye to the skill he's developed. And he's been taking football serious for a long time. He had trainers in Dallas too that were getting him right. So Colin is a complete player. We're going to see a lot of fun draft tape on him after this next season for sure.
Yeah. Fake Jedi asks, is it possible for a graduate transfer to move outside the portal window? Any interior O-line that are about to finish their degrees?
No, grad transfers had to go in during this portal window too, as far as I know. I mean, there's a lot of people in the portal that I don't even think we know about because they're not ranked. There's just so many of them. There's thousands and thousands of them. So we'll see. We'll see what they come up with. But they had to have gone in during this last portal window. That was a rule change that happened between the last year.
Yeah, it's weird because I was I like keeping the graduate transfers after because it's like a fresh thing to look at. But yeah, they had to. They should already be in there.
Yeah.
Are we done with everyone's window? Miami, Indiana, all of that? Is it officially technically over? Or are they doing that thing where it's like it'll skirt to Wednesday?
No, Miami. Because of the 48-hour lag.
Yeah,
maybe they can't still go in because of that lag because they had 5 days and then you have the weekend. So yeah, probably still a little bit of time there.
Yeah.
But you would know there would be some announcement or most people don't just slyly go in. All right, defensive tackle. This is actually the room I was most excited about when it comes to returns. And because our highest snap guys were Canoe, January, and Watson. And so they're all coming back. So that's something I was really excited for. You're going to have Travis, you're going to lose Shaw and Brevard. But other than that, I mean, you're really experienced guys. And a couple of these guys were younger too. So you're going to get natural growth there. And then you add in some big bodies. So, Eric, kind of what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I think Canoe did a good job of getting on the radar this year. I think he's going to break out possibly as early as week 2 next season. And I think Alex January's got a chance to break out just as much. I love them both. I think they're a little bit different. But they're future NFL players without a shadow of a doubt. So you've got those two guys as sort of the anchors. But then Gafrada gives you that needed size that Brevard and Shaw had. And then at the same time, you got some young guys that are really excited. Throw Justice Terry in here because he's going to play 3-tech as well. I'm really, really, really excited about Josiah Sharma long term. I want to see him get some snaps. He's going to be a big, big piece down the road for Texas. When I watched that guy in practice, both in high school and then, I was probably even more impressed with him in his first college practices. He is just big and has a certain quickness about him that most guys his size at 350 pounds don't have. So I was, kind of shades of T'Vondre Sweat when I watched him move around. So they've got a lot of good pieces here. Now, there still needs to be some development. Murad Watson has to get better at taking on doubles. He's sort of a single gapper at this point. But that's fine. That's why you bring in Gaffard. And I think Canoe, maybe not have the optimal size for nose tackle, but he can get away with it because he's got some grown man to him.
Yeah, and you bring in Zion from
Yep.
LSU too. So you get a good mix here. Coach, you excited about this room? I just think Kenny Baker's coaching is really good too. So the natural bump here, I'm excited about.
No. I love the defensive line room, the interior anyway, right? Because like you got Gafar, we saw what he can do at Arkansas, right? Like, but if you limit to his snaps, but a lot of these guys, you're going to get even better production from that guy, right? You got Hero Canoe, who's probably, I don't know, he could be, maybe a second round pick, third round pick next year. I'm ready for Mariah Watson to kind of live up to the hype I gave him of being a 3 and out player, right? I'm ready for you. But I'm excited about Sharma too. Like that's the only guy that may not need shoulder pads on the team, man. Because like he got these big broad shoulders who can bring it. So I love this room because of the rotation. And there's not a lot of 1 year rental guys in here. It's like a talent that you've grown and that you got, for a couple of years that you developed, right? And so I love it for that fact because you get to see what the future looks like versus just having 1 year rental guys in this room. So I love it.
Yeah, me too. This is probably the room I was most excited about. Well, I have two that I'm most excited about. We'll get to the other one.
They did a heck of a job reshaping that room.
Yeah, and to not end up in portal hell, because you had that big year, you end up like, do I need to buy portal every year? And they did a good job of just like taking the haul and then stabilizing the room to move forward. So that it was good roster management there as well. So better shape is the result.
Yep.
Linebacker, my nemesis, but I've explained it a billion times, so I will not harp on it further. We had Anthony Hill. He's going to go to the NFL. The foul transfers out. Anthony Smith returns. Trey Moore was in that in-between stage. He's going to head on too. Brad Spence might move there. Bo Barnes heads to Kentucky. Then we're going to get Rasheem Biles, who I'm really excited about from Pitt. Anthony Smith, Brad Spence maybe, Juice Cryer from Florida State, and then the young Tyler Atkinson. Thoughts here, Eric?
Well, I want to hear your thoughts because I'm not, I was a little out of the loop last week, but
they haven't changed. There's some things I was complaining about before you left. I'd say it hasn't changed. It was the same things I was complaining about before you left.
Okay, all right, yeah. So there's not like that true middle linebacker sort of body.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they see something in Juice Cryer that maybe you hadn't, which I know you took a good hard look at him. Maybe they feel like they can develop Brad Spence into that. Or maybe they just want to play Biles next to Smith and cover him up with a really good defensive line. You've got really good run support safeties as well. I think as far as defending the pass, which, everybody wants to, that's where the foundation of defensive play begins with defending the pass, the secondary. They're going to be really good in that regard. But I do think there's going to be there does seem to be like a not enough of the old school linebacker stuff that you just always have to have at that position. You got to be able to read and react, get downhill, shed blocks. Like I said, they're going to be free to run around a lot and make some athletic plays, but are they going to do the traditional unsexy linebacker stuff? You still got to be good at the core of the sport. We can talk about the run all you want or the pass all you want, but if Georgia running backs get going downhill, they're just going to keep running it.
Yeah. So the Muschamp system, they stack linebackers, right? Meaning that they stay behind the defensive line and then they'll two gap. So they'll work from the A gap out to the C. So the goal is for the defensive line to keep them clean. Versus the Venables defense, if you notice, they fire their linebackers into the gap immediately. It's not what they do. So luckily you can have smaller linebackers in this situation, but it doesn't matter. When they start wanting to climb to the second level and these things, or your defensive lineman doesn't get the block or take the double team well, they're still going to get to you. Those are questions. But in this scheme, you can still select a little bit more for athleticism. So that's why I think Ian's piece on it made the most sense, where he's like, you can still play Ty Smith with Biles. It's not perfect ideal world, but it's not, you're not terrified with that situation. And of course, like if Juice Cryer is able to rise up, he's an older experienced player. That's a good trait. If Brad Spence shows us, I'm a little bit worried about Brad Spence going backwards from watching Arkansas linebacker tape of him. I think he's a forward player. I think that's why he got selected for edge. But I don't feel horrible about this room. I just kind of wish there was one more piece. That's really what's separating me from being confident in this room right now.
How many teams we face will probably go 12 personnel or go heavy though? Like if we face a lot of 11 personnel teams, then you're fine. But if, like you said, Eric said, if Georgia wants to go like heavy or 12 personnel and run right at you, like maybe Cryer comes in. I just need you to plug, right? But the defensive line jobs become so much more important. You can't get attack you really have to take on double teams and just anchor, right? It's an ugly job. I know you don't want to do it, but you got to just hold your blocks and hold the double team down as much as possible to keep those linebackers free. So it's going to be a team type of defense. Like, you got to do your job. It's not sexy. It's not pretty. You don't get all the stats, but you let your linebacker make plays just like Georgia has done, like Alabama done in the past. Like, do your job and up front, and then let everybody else, make plays behind you. So if they can buy into that system, then I think this defense will be perfect with the 2 linebackers we got. But if not, you put Cryer in for a situation, hey, go downhill, smash mouth, pop a guard in the mouth if he's trying to reach the second level, and don't let the running back get free.
Yeah. When we talk about concerns, I don't think any of us are talking about whether or not they have good enough linebackers to go 10-2. But we're talking about getting over the hump here, breaking through the semifinals, and possibly winning it all. You watch Indiana run downhill physical. You watch Miami run downhill physical. A lot of times that's what it's going to take, and you got to be able to stop it. And you ideally on the other side of the ball, you got to be able to perform it. So that's where we're at. I think this is going to be a team that makes a good playoff run. But we got a long way to go until we figure out whether or not, they should be, I think I saw what rank number 3 in the initial way too early, at least the on-3 one. Yeah. I don't know, but this is about, do they have the pieces to get over the hump, not make the playoffs or rebound from this past year, but really win it all. That's the goal.
I'm concerned about our linebackers going over the hump. Yeah, sure. Yeah, playing in the margins. And some of these guys, like, they have clear strengths, right? Like Brad Smith to me is moving forward. I don't trust him as much moving backwards. I say the same for Juice Cryer. He's a really aggressive downhill guy. Yeah. His feet aren't very quick when it comes to playing in coverage. So some in like Anthony Smith and Biles, I feel really good in coverage as well. But it's like I don't have that guy, and these guys are rare, so it's natural. But Georgia always has that guy that is a freak that will hit you and also drop back. We don't have a guy with that full range yet at the highest level. So that's where it is. It's like I can see all these guys used situationally, but in other situations, I would say it would not be ideal for them. So that's going to be kind of.
Can you bring up this James Cole Fowler question or
Jelani?
Yeah,
Jelani?
This is the same thing I say in the next section about, or maybe I even say in that linebacker section. But yeah, it's not just Jelani. I'm expecting a big bounce back year from Derek Williams. Both those guys will come downhill in safety support. I don't know. Jelani's probably going to play in the field more, what they call strong safety. I think Williams might be your box guy, but either way, you're going to have both those guys in run support. And then I think the corners, if they're in man, it's a little bit different in run support, but the corners are going to be physical as well. Warren Roberson, we saw that hit he had in the Citrus Bowl. That guy's, the Michigan player's teeth are still rattling. And then Cade Phillips getting more and more physical, lengthy, wiry. We know Grayson's a bit of a pit bull out there. And Kobe Black. Kobe Black is very physical. So I think team-wide, this plays back into what Coach was saying, team-wide run support. You've got a lot of big pieces out there. They're just not necessarily a linebacker. Jelani's a big safety. Derek's a pretty big safety. You've got help for those guys in run support.
Remember, ideally, too, James, is you want to stop the run equal man or even down a man. Like, that's what the great teams do. You don't really want to drop someone in the box. If you have to, you have to, but you want to stay too high. And it is quarters. Those safeties will get involved in the run. Don't get me wrong, but ideally you don't want to have to use a safety and run support. The good teams don't. They stop the run from an even box or even down a man, and that's what you want to be able to do. So we want to keep our safeties back as much as we can.
Yeah.
All right. Linebacker got a result of slightly worse, but that's just a guess. All right.
It's all kind of a guess, but the upside is there for it to go in a different direction, right? If that D-line is really doing their job up front and Ty Anthony and Biles are cleaning up everything, it's going to be a fun group to watch. So it's just, there's just more variability in it than it was. Losing LaFau kind of changed the complexion for me.
Yeah. All right. Cornerback star. This is the other room when I was saying the rooms I was most excited about. This is the one in the running too. And there's a lot of projection here because these guys are young, but I'm confident. Normally with projection in a national championship goal season, I'm like, I don't want to project anything. I'm good with projecting these guys. I like what I see on tape from them. So we had Manny, Jalen, Littleton, Cade, Warren, Kobe. We get Bo Masco from Rutgers, like shorter guy, but a man corner. And they were leaving him on islands a lot. And the Penn State, they were playing man against Penn State. Penn State was running every man beater. I was screaming at the coach to stop doing this, but it did show me how much man reps he has. So Bo Masco comes in, Littleton returns. We'll see if he stays at nickel or goes to corner. Cade Phillips, exciting young prospect, big guy. What were his? Do you guys remember his numbers? Is that his like? Didn't he have like crazy long jump or something like that? He just all around athlete.
Oh yeah, he was good in the 400. He had long jump was his best. Explosive kid. Yeah, probably 6'2". He's a wiry guy, but man, some of those wiry guys play really strong. Yeah, he's got that. You know, you mentioned there are a lot of young players, but there's also a lot of tape on them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we started to see a lot more of Cade and Kobe, and then Wardell Mack. We started to see more of him. So it's projection, of course, but I feel pretty good about it. And then, of course, we got some new coordination, I think, that plays into their strengths. Masco is a really good replacement for Muhammad. He's going to get tested more than Malik did. But I think, he's used to that. He's been tested a lot. So.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. So I love the group. If you talk about positive feedback loops of pass rush and coverage, they've got it between edge and cornerback. That could be one of the identities for the entire team in 2026. I really like this room as well.
Yeah, the competition in here. There's a lot of NFL players, a lot of young ones. They're going to push each other. Roberson fans, separate yourself from special teams Roberson and defense Roberson. You'll walk away with different impressions based on what you're watching there. I saw him take a shallow across the field versus A&M, and I was like, all right, this guy can play, man. This is a real athlete. You might have too much passion. This might be the good example of where you need to hey, let's bring back some of the passion there. But you return him. Flirted with the portal. Kobe Black flirted with the portal, comes back. Wardell Mack was in a narrative, a soap opera, it seemed too, and then you're able to keep him, and then JJR. So, and you like him, I'm assuming, at the star position. So, even when we were thinking some of these guys could leave, I still felt confident. I feel like there's so much positional flexibility here. The nickel in the new scheme is actually not super coverage oriented. He's actually going to be more of I think a D gap fitter, run, that kind of stuff. So you're going to want to select for a more physical, maybe larger nickel. So maybe that will go into our equation as well. But man, I really like this room and what I see on tape from these guys. Coach.
One thing I love about Masco is how instinctive he is. He's going to be a guy who can make the off-schedule plays, kind of like Barron used to do. You may have deep thirds or something else, but he's able to come off of that and go make a play elsewhere. He's played a lot of football, right? And you play for Rutgers, you play for Greg Schiano, man. You got to learn a lot. It's not just I'm a man up and be on my island. You can tell he knows the game and studies. And I'm not really worried about the young guys. I know everybody's they're sophomores. The room is they're so talented, man. They're smart. You can see them. I feel like you can leave them on the island. You can just kind of trust the Cade Phillips. I feel like Warren Roberson, when he comes in, man, he brings a different attitude to it. Wardell Mack can slide out and play corner. But then we saw that in the bowl game versus Michigan. He looks natural doing it. It's like every time he gets in, he gets an interception. He's always around the football. And then Grayson Littleton, I think you're going to see him take on that role where he can come up. You try to throw bubble screens, he's going to intercept it or blow it up. He's going to take over. He's going to take the next step of playing the nickel position. Or you can slide him outside and dime if you want to mix and match. This room is so talented, but you can do so much with it and mix and match. You can't out-scheme it. It doesn't matter. Who you have on the other side. These guys can lock down their own position. So I love that.
Yeah, there's not a ton. You're not worried about protecting these guys and trying to match your scheme to zone things up because you're scared of your corners. And that's going to be a big factor too. This defense will get some identity from Coach Boom. They'll be just fine. Yeah, that's something we haven't mentioned, but just the overall how they play should be more aggressive. And I don't mean blitz, but I just mean when they hit guys, you go, wow, more. All right. Result better shape. I agree with this. Safety. Michael Taft, Jelani last year, Phil Samay, Derek Williams, Jonah Williams. Now we have Jelani, Derek, Phil Samay, Jonah Williams, JJR, Cunningham, Zealous Hicks. So not a ton of change. The main story from this room is actually just making sure that some guys didn't leave or go to the NFL, right, Eric?
Yeah, I think there's a huge palate cleanser with bringing Gideon back. I think that's a big that room took it hard when he left, and I think they're going to feel rejuvenated after last year. It didn't go all that well with the coaching player relationship. So. Derek Williams, that's why I've got him as my bounce back guy. I believe in him, his talent. The knee injury was unfortunate, but it's not like where he doesn't look like the same player athletically. Maybe not quite as much juice, but he still moves around really well. I think the coaching upgrade here is probably more important than anything else. You can't. There's some things about Michael Taft that you simply can't replace. But we saw the secondary struggle with him out there this past season because he couldn't overcome coaching. Now I think they're getting the good coaching. You got Jelani McDonald in the right spot to have a big breakout, potential first-round draft pick. Derek Williams, like I said, bounce-back player. Phil Semi's going to get – I think Phil Semi was playing a year ahead of his readiness. He'll get that year right now to develop, but also still play. I think it'll go a long way. He was banged up this season, played through some dings that I think that hampered his play, certainly his tackling at times. So I love the room. I'm excited about the coaching, the return of Gideon. Jonah Williams, I'm still excited about him. I know he's going to play baseball, and that hurts him a little bit, just because safety is a tough position. You got a new defense coming in. Yeah, those are real concerns, but also he understands the game better than I think a lot of dual sport athletes. I think he's a natural. He can pick things up quick and just kind of do things, get by on his raw athleticism and ability. And I don't want to shortchange Jordan Johnson-Rebel either, because he can find a home at safety or nickel, or we know he's already a good special teamer. When you're a good special teamer, they try to get you on the field too. So it's a really good room. I'm excited to see how it all comes together with coordination, with what we hear about in spring ball and all that. But if you just look at the defense overall, they've got probably no first rounders going in after this in this 2026 draft. Next year, you've got Colin Simmons for sure, and a handful of others that have the potential to get in there, or at least maybe top 40 picks.
You know what? Looking at the safety room, I felt I was a little bit worried. We played match coverage, right? How many of these safeties can kind of cover in space and turn their hips and run? But talking with Ian yesterday, we were kind of speaking about the exact same subject, and this is where like Rasheem Biles and Tyanthan Smith help out a lot, right? Because they can kind of protect the safeties, because they can do a lot of things that safeties have to do. They can cover in space to protect those safeties. They can come up and field the run and all that, so they won't be in such, be on the island by themselves versus slot receivers a ton, because you can kind of protect them a bit, which made me feel a whole lot better. But as far as the health of the room, man, you got a lot of names, you got a lot of bodies in here that from the high school bill, you think, okay, they're going to be players, right? You just got to kind of see it. I think that's the biggest thing. I think you're just waiting for it to actually happen. You know what you're going to get out of Jelani McDonald. I think, could be a first or second round pick next year. Probably would have been a high pick this year if he came out. But I want to see it from the rest of the guys. I want to see what they do in the next steps. Derek Williams comes back to form what he was his freshman and sophomore year before he got hurt. I think you're fine in this room. And then you can kind of bring the younger guys along. But it's going to be interesting to see how they actually play when the lights are bright.
All right. When we come back from break, we're going to talk about what we want to actually see from the defense globally. But first, trust me, a very quick word from Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Fast one.
Same-day delivery powered by DoorDash.
So a big thing to me from our really successful defense 2 years ago was takeaways and turnovers. And last year we were kind of missing on that. And we were able to almost call it. Paul and Ian did a good job talking about between X amount of corners, we had one takeaway. And we kind of saw that too leading into the season. Do you think that's different this year? My first thought with Rasheem Biles is yes. Because if you watch his tape, he has like several, not even pick sixes, but like fumble sixes, all of these kind of things. And then I'd have to see more with Bo Masco. Man corners don't always actually end up getting those interceptions. They're more playing. But do you guys think we're going to have the ability to truly be the dominant defense, not just in handling our business, but making the big plays from what you've seen? Tyanthan Smith, 2 picks versus Michigan. Colin Simmons, of course, has done forced some fumbles, things like that. Do you think we do the global stuff more correctly? Either one of you can take that.
I don't have a whole lot of concerns about forcing turnover. I've got a couple other concerns about the defense, but that's not really one of them. Jelani's a playmaker when the ball's in the air. I think Littleton is a natural playmaker when the ball's in the air too. He had 2 at nickel, right? I think they should put. Hey, Kobe had a couple, right? He played really well against A&M. I think the playmaking is there. I do wonder how the pieces are going to fit. I would prefer Littleton at corner and Kobe Black at nickel probably. I think that could help out a couple of different things. Biles is a turnover machine. We know that Tyanthan Smith and pass coverage is those traits have always been there. We've been talking about his ability in coverage for a very long time. It's about matching it to know-how. It's matching the physical athletic gifts with the know-how is important. But the ability was there. like I said, Jelani's going to be all over the field next season. I'm not really worried about turnovers. And then, of course, you've got sort of the sack strip ability that's there from a handful of guys. Lance Jackson has it. How many times did you see Lance Jackson come right behind the quarterback and just barely maybe a step behind?
Yeah.
Next year maybe he gets there. Colin is going to do his thing. I'm not too worried about forcing turnovers next year, but anytime you lose to Jahdae Barron, that's going to be a concern because that guy was magnetized to the ball, and so was Andrew Makuba.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite pairing. Those guys were wild. Coach, do you have any concerns about it, or do you think we'll be set?
Nah, I think we'll get more turnovers just because of the playmakers we have on defense. Like you just mentioned Rasheem Biles and Tyson Smith. Like I think it's going to come from the linebackers more than anything. They're going to race the middle of the field, the intermediate passing window. Teams going to be fearful for throwing across the middle because those two can pick it off. And I think you got such tight coverage. The windows will be smaller, which costs from tips. Tips and overthrows lead to interceptions and everything else. And so I feel like we'll get more turnovers because of that.
Yeah, and we did episode 1 of the Must Champ defense with Pack to show you. So you shouldn't expect these pre-snap, giant holes like we were seeing last year. So they should play tighter. That should allow quarterbacks to try to force some things. So hopefully that's helpful. Okay, so we know we're going to like their disposition most likely. That's what George is kind of known for. They're not like super aggressive. To Texas, they feel aggressive, but they hit hard. They look like they do their job well. We feel better about coverage. We feel better about turnovers. Is there anything that just like off bat that you're like, I don't know if this defense will be able to do this usual role? Is it traditional inside runs versus linebackers? Is there any questions you have?
I've got concern on contain when they're in the mint front and the nickel having to do his part, or the linebacker, whoever has it on that assignment. That's my big issue. Some of that is PTSD from watching the Todd Orlando defenses. Now, Todd Orlando's not as good of a coach, right? So, but we're asking a lot more of these nickels in run support than we have been in the past. And also the linebacker is going to have to do it at times too. And we just talked about the issues with maybe playing the run with these linebackers. So that's my number one concern. That was my same concern I had when they brought him back. But that's about it. And I do have faith that he'll coach him up, and they have the pieces for it. But that's part of why I want Kobe Black at star. He's bigger than Littleton. He's going to hold up better over the long term. And I still want to have Wardell Mack there too. So you can play those guys and spell them both. Hopefully those players get degraded really quick with picking up knocks throughout the season. That's what happened with Jahdae Barron, 2 years in a row. Everybody was down on Barron because he was struggling later in the season when he was beat up. The corner in this defense, or the nickel, is going to get beat up. So hopefully they can split the workload. Put Littleton, who's not the biggest guy, outside at corner, where I think he's a natural. I think he's got some Jahdae Barron playmaking to him. And then, but figure it out soon, because those guys are going to need as many reps as possible throughout the spring and August. They need to have that figured out, their plan, well before August, so these guys can rep it.
Yeah. Coach, you have any big ones that come to mind?
Just as teams want to go heavy and run at us. But the other part is not physical, it's all mental, right? Because even though you got a lot of talented young players, how does that translate to the game mentally? If you get beat on a route, how well do you bounce back? Do you miscommunicate a pass route or concept, right? They're young, so they're still going to be learning on the fly. Teams are going to try them in different ways. And so how well they adapt to the game mentally is going to matter. That's what I'm most kind of worried about, because you need to see that, though. You need to see how they react in real life situations.
Biles can play nickel. Yeah, he can. I mean, they played him as a true 4-3 linebacker, like at Sam, and he was lined up in the slot at Pitt. So you also have these you have all these DBs that you can play different nickel combinations. But if you just want to go actually like a 4-3, 3 linebacker bodies, you're absolutely right. I saw Biles do that several times at Pitt.
That dude's unreal, man.
What are your concerns? Same thing. I really like when the linebackers scrape, meaning they start like A to C. Smith is really good at this. These are our linebackers right now who I expect to tackle, like Biles and Smith, to start. They're kind of lateral tacklers, right? They're not meeting guys in gaps. They're kind of letting the guy get there, and then they run up beside them and wrap them down. So that's going to give a couple extra yards generally, but they do that well. I think, and you saw it with Smith. You saw Barnes do it, but he left. But Smith, when he chased the guy down in the backfield, think of that moment versus Michigan. They do that really well. The difference is when that running back doesn't bounce it outside and decides to stay in the A, that's where it could be a little trickier. But if you're playing quarter safeties, the quarter safeties are tied to the run. So you have bigger guys that can hit. But I do worry sometimes about, like giving up 3 and 4 yards, giving up 3, and how that can compound. And then a big issue we had actually with the edges was contain in the run game and sometimes getting out of gaps. One thing I did notice with Colin is Colin's very athletic, and he's aware he's very athletic. So sometimes he'll jump gaps trying to make a move. And then like Cutter Boldy was doing it. Like just as soon as Colin would counter inside on a rush, he would just run where the C gap was.
Yeah, Pavia had a long touchdown run on that.
Right. Yeah. So the problem is like, so one thing with Colin is gap integrity, because he's trying to jump around and kind of olay things. So I do worry sometimes with the gap integrity there. I don't know how much of that is coaching versus just, Colin trying to make a play. So that'll be a big thing. So edge contain, we saw a lot of issues with edge contain this season, people getting outside of us. I want to see if that's fixed as well. So those are probably my primary concerns, but nowhere near where I'm like losing sleep at night. Oh. I think you can solve for it. And if you get takeaways, you can really solve for it. I want the takeaways will be important because, like I said, if they're able to run 3 and 4 yards at a clip just because of the style, then you can get into situations where they're perpetually in good downs, and you can't get your pass rush to activate. So we need some ways to kind of slow it down. I am interested how the mix of players works on the interior because it's like you have guys like Canoe could play 4-eye. You have a bunch of these guys that can play 4-eye. Jackson can play it. It's just how does it all fit together? And that's not a really concern. That's more of a curiosity because you have such a weird mix of players on the inside. So that's kind of really it.
These are not the biggest issues. They're not really foundational necessarily. They can all be coached out. You have if one guy can't do it, somebody else is going to do it. They got a lot of competition right now. I'm not too worried about it. And that's, kind of what you said about the ends and the edges on contain. That ties into the nickel concerns too. A lot of times they were in 4-eye when they were getting, obviously 4-eye, you're at a disadvantage playing outside. And so we just have to see it get worked out. But they've got answers, again, if Kobe Black or if one of those nickels isn't doing well, just put in a bigger guy there. It doesn't even have to be Biles. It can be Biles. You can put in there. Maybe that's where Jordan Johnson-Rebel fits as well because he's physical and a safety guy, but then you still have some coverage ability as well. So I'm just more curious and excited than anything. I'm not super worried about the defense outside of I want to hear that the linebackers are playing the run better. But that's we're gonna have to bide our time for that. We need some real scrimmage work to figure that out. But it's gonna be a fun offseason because of the coaching changes. There's always adds more personnel shifts, and then you got a competition coming in, some of it from the portal players, some of it from the very talented 2025 class that those guys are just taking the next step naturally. It's going to be a fun offseason to cover that.
Hey, Homer, I was thinking about this, watching Georgia defense a bit. Even if the defensive end does crash in, the linebackers are smart, like, okay, I got to cover your gap. I think we saw too much last year. If Colin went inside, the linebacker was like, that was supposed to be my gap, and they would stay there. Versus like, just replace him, right? Just communicate and replace. I know it's going to take some time to kind of get there, but you need the spring to kind of go through that. If Colin does go inside, just replace him. If you're the linebacker, don't go through the same gap he went through. I think we saw that a lot too much. And so I think Muschamp and that defense, they'll work that out to where if he does go inside, just go replace your buddy. It's team defense at the end of the day.
Yeah, and going to a more of a match style. So some things like for Ty Anthony Smith, he could have trouble in the pass coverage in feel when he was just straight zone dropping, just not really aware of how to be in the window. But that's not really a huge component of Muschamp, right? Like the linebackers aren't generally going to spot drop. They're going to be looking for some type of work. So I think that'll look better too. So we don't have these kind of like awkward, and it wasn't just Smith. He's just the one on the team now that's starting, that they would just kind of drop back and like they're not really doing anything. And so that'll be a big difference too, where you just don't see like pre-snap, you could circle where the ball was going on 3rd and 5 and it would go right there. Hopefully that's a big, big change.
Yeah, can you bring up that one there? Perfect. Ian wrote something that I thought was just super brilliant and simple when Muschamp was hired. He compared him to PK in that he said PK's alignment was aggressive, but the calls were passive. Muschamp's calls are aggressive, but the alignment is more passive. Mm-hmm. And so that I think is a pretty profound sentiment from Ian. Are they going to regret firing PK? I know it took pretty big balls to replace him in a year where you're trying to win a national championship. I applaud Sark for it. I kind of wondered if it was going to happen, but with Justin Wilcox, just because I think Sark was fed up with how passive the play calls were, especially in pass coverage. At times, they were a bad marriage in that, Sark is perfectly fine with a limited amount of offensive plays, but PK is perfectly fine with bend don't break, and then, so that has the other team's offense at an advantage. And I think that was the deal breaker for Sark. So I don't think we're going to regret it. But if Texas doesn't play really good defense in 2026, we're going to wonder if that decision cost them a national championship. But I'm going to say it right now. I'm not going to hindsight this down the road. I agree with the move as much as I appreciate PK and have a lot of respect for him. I get the move by Sark, and I think it was the right call.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll regret it. We have to see. That's yet to be said. I liked PK, but I also understand that, like, if you remember, like, starting like year 3, Sark in the preseason would always like tell the press, like, we want to play up on guys. We want to contest routes. And then they just wouldn't.
Yeah.
And so it's like Sark is clearly trying to message to his DC on like what style he likes and thinks is difficult for him as an OC, right? Because often coordinators are snitching on themselves by saying what they like in a DC is what they struggle with, and they just never would. And so I always thought that was weird because I'm like, why is the head coach not telling the DC? It's like, don't tell us, tell him.
Yeah.
And so that's a big thing. And, the difference is, are we going to regret firing last year PK? Probably not, but 2 years ago, PK, maybe. And so that's going to be a big thing. Also, he just wanted a head coach of the defense. PK is not a very rah-rah guy. He's not a big talker. When I talked to former players, he was like a technician. So he was really good at talking football, but he wasn't he wasn't holding leadership seminars for the players. Yeah. And I think Muschamp can do that. And Muschamp also understands the back end. They don't have to hire a piece to
right.
PK because it worked out for several years, but then you get the Akina thing and then it collapses. So I think it was also that too. He just wanted a guy with a really holistic view, especially a guy aware of secondaries.
Don't discount recruiting. I know everybody's a little bit blah on recruiting right now. High school, it still matters. I mean, look at the amount of high school talent on this roster right now. That's going to stay the same. Muschamp is a massive, massive, massive upgrade. Probably the biggest way he's an upgrade over PK is as a recruiter. PK, PK was really good on the chalkboard. That was his thing, right? But he had to have first it was Jeff Choate helping him on the recruiting trail. Then it was Lee Allen Clark. And so it's sort of that same help that he needed with the secondary, tying the whole thing together. He needed as a recruiter as well. Muschamp doesn't have that problem. Muschamp is a very proactive, very aggressive recruiter. That goes a long way, even in this day and age where NIL matters. Well, Texas has NIL too. All right. So you're going to have the relationships in place, the enthusiasm. That mindset appeals to defensive players where PK being a little bit more passive, you're like, that's more like an offensive coordinator mind, like a Bill Walsh. PK was like a Bill Walsh. Well, Bill Walsh, that worked well on offense. I don't know if it plays as well on defense. But yeah, recruiting is going to be big. They've had some trouble recruiting linebackers. Obviously, Tyler Atkinson, you shouldn't have to go that hard to get good linebackers.
Right.
I think that's going to be a big upgrade on recruiting.
Yeah, the fact that you mentioned that, I got an article that's coming up right after this show. Like, Bill Muschamp has been more active on a recruiting trail than most position coaches. Like, he's everywhere in high schools, in living rooms. Man, this dude is so active over this recruiting trail now that the portal season has ended. He's out there on the trail and not hitting the same routine hotbed spots for recruiting. He's everywhere. It doesn't matter. He's trying to find the best talent all over. So I love that, man. He's so active.
Well, he's coming in with Georgia's big board too, so he knows where the ballers are. And he's the type of guy that's always going to hit the ground running. So yeah, that's another. It's just, again, all of it makes sense to me. It's just, there's some risk with Sark doing it the year where he's trying to win it all.
Has PK not landed yet? Because I remember they were talking Stanford.
Yeah.
Which is weird, but someone pointed out on the board, it's like he just has a really small network, but
I pointed that out. Yeah, he doesn't have that, and that's why sometimes you need help on who to hire. You had Chris Peterson. It was easy to outfit your staff when you have Chris Peterson as one of the best coaches of the 1990s and 2000s. And yeah, he just never had a big network, and so
he didn't need to. Like he's been in three places the past 20 years.
Yeah.
Because he's been at such stable spots. But most coaches have a big network because they get fired every 2 years or their head coach gets fired. So in a weird way, his success has limited him with his network.
He's not a schmoozer either. So he's not out there on the circuit, trading ideas. He just was. This is not, maybe this isn't the right thing to say, but because he's not a mean guy by any stretch, but he's just not much of a people person. Like and it's not that he's just a little bit introverted for somebody to be in that profession and reach the heights that he has.
Yeah, he's not a clinic warrior, right?
Mhm.
You're not going to go on YouTube and find the PK clinics, which matter. And whenever we did the interview with all the coaches before Ohio State game last year, he's not mean. When you talk to him, he gives you very honest answers.
No, he's a good. I think he's a really good dude. It's just
Yeah.
his
But he
personality.
doesn't play the game. You should see the politician Jade Barron holding court compared to his coach, man.
Yeah.
The interviews end and he's talking to it's ended and it's off record and he's asking people about their families and like talking to like what shows they like. And I was like, Jade Barron can be president of the US. It was just funny to watch him work a room. But I liked PK, but I see some of the issues. But who knows in year one what we think. All right, let's get to these here in a second. I think we would have had a lot of trouble with the veer and shoot teams if we kept PK. I don't know, man. The Georgia scheme has a lot of issues with the veer and shoot. That's kind of the scheme that lights them up. So I'd be careful what you wish for there because veer and shoot is historically the one that actually gives the Muschamp defense real fits.
Yep.
So we'll have to kind of see there because they force everything out of the box, and now you're in one-on-one. Your corners better be able to cover. So that we'll see with that. And then number 2, Eric, do y'all think Texas is done trying to grab O linemen? We cannot escape it.
I thought that said A lineman. I was going to try to pretend that he meant defense. No, I don't think they're done trying. That's not to say they're going to add anybody that's going to be like a surefire starter or anything. I think the numbers are still a little bit lower than what they'd like. And yeah, they are still trying. I just keep being told they've got a plan. And they also like some of the younger guys. We talked about the Coleman twins. Coach knew them really well in high school. Big athletic guys with a good disposition. Probably the best thing I wrote about them was that their disposition on scout team really translated. They're going up against some really good defensive linemen and not taking the beatings lying down. They showed a lot of fight, would get a little chippy at times. But I do think they will. Well, I think they're still going to add somebody, but I can't tell you that he's going to be like a starter or anything.
Yeah, well, I like it too because they're twins, right? So that's an interesting study, right? You got the same genetic profile, so now you can just see what coaching actually does, right? My dad's an identical twin; they're the same thing, but life experiences have changed them and molded them. So we'll see with the Coleman.
There's a lot of studies on twins for that reason.
It's fascinating. All right, we're gonna do a quick commercial, and then I have some questions for you guys about actually scout team depth and the future. All right, let's hear a word from Andre. Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results: Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description. You're the man, Andre. Okay. So we said scout depth. One of the best things about when you had these uber talented teams, like a Saban team, is that your scout team was filled with people that just give them 2 years and they're going to the NFL. So they're able to put some more pressure on your starters and not give them light work. With the destruction of depth kind of going on in the sport and clearing off players who aren't immediate impact to free up money, so like sign them expensive and then cut them immediately if they don't, is that going to end up hurting starters because they're not going to get the same caliber of reps and scout? They're just going to get essentially the look.
Oh, man.
Well, I mean, I haven't put a whole lot of thought to this yet, but I'm inclined to think that Texas is fine right now on scout because of that. The younger classes that they've recruited are talented. Some of it's about the number of bodies too. I'd have to. How many O linemen do they have? That might be the biggest concern. Is the O line scout team going to give the defensive line any sort of look? Coleman's won't be on there. Jackson Christian probably won't be on there. And those were guys that gave them a really good look last year. And then they've had some injuries they got to worry about with Kojo. Chapman's been in and out. So maybe if I worry about it, it would be on the D line. I mean, on the offensive line, giving the D line a good look. But man, they're still at 85 or whatever scholarships. So, I think the numbers are okay across the board. I'd have to look at it. Yeah, I need to go read that article again and put some thoughts to it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I think about with like destruction of depth might end up hurting your actual starters.
Or
One of
you
those
choose when you
quarterbacks would be
practice.
good, right? One of somebody's unless they use a walk on at quarterback, he just brought in that guy that I think would be if he doesn't win the backup job.
Yeah.
Then you got let me see running back. Who's that running back? Yeah,
Jet
I mean,
Walker.
yeah, Jet Walker's going to be a very tough guy by the end of next year. But they'll have another walk on there, I believe, still that's coming back. So
I worry about offensive line if you're scouting up against this linebacker room that's thin and they're running blitzes and you're not going to be able to simulate. You're never going to be able to simulate what a starter does. But that's what I worry about is getting quality reps on the offensive line where the defense can be thin in scout. And so it's like situational stuff because scout teams players are normally not specialized enough to give you an actual look in a situation. They can give you a base defense, and they're really just designed to give you a look. Hey, guys, you have to play cover 3 here because we think the opponent's going to play it.
Yeah.
But that's just where I get nervous. But I think we're at 80, according to Evan, we're at 86 right now. So it's not like we've lost overall numbers, maybe in some spots. But that's just, you guys think about it. I gave you a free article there. That's something you can do, but that's what I'm kind of worried for the future of.
Yeah, and another thing, it's not just preparing game to game, but it's also giving you an idea of what you have. I think we had a bit of a false read on the offensive line coming into this season. We knew that there were issues, some concerns at left guard and right tackle coming into the year, but we didn't know that they were going to have those struggles that they had early in the season. So I don't know how it was such a surprise to everybody, but that should have been revealed. Those issues should have been revealed in practice, and for whatever reason, they weren't. To the degree they needed to be. So that kind of ties into the whole thing about, are you getting a true read on what you have? And if your scout isn't up to snuff, you're going to be in some limbo until you get into games.
Yeah.
You think we can adapt the NFL style model practices where it's more teaching? Like, you bang in fall camp, you're going hard, but then during the season, it's more about teaching moments. We've heard Kirby Smart say this during the season when they felt like he had a couple of rough games. They wouldn't even wear a pass the next week. It's all about teaching. So then you can use your starters to be on scout team, right? And kind of substitute having guys who can't give you a look with guys who can, but it's more about teaching without the pads, just maybe shields on. And so you can can transition to that style.
Indiana. Their whole thing, like they said that basically during the season they do mental reps. And so it's much more like actually film study focused. Now it's not Indiana 1, you have to do everything Indiana does, but they have a model where they're not hitting heavy. They're actually more in the film room than they are even on the practice field. So maybe
Sark definitely throttles it here and there where it's less wear and tear on the guys. Definitely, especially when you get that second bye week. I think Sark does a pretty good job of managing that workload. Hey, here's finally a fun question about the offense. I've been waiting for this.
Do y'all think Jermaine Bishop is going to get some playing time?
Absolutely. I wrote an article last week about the 3 freshmen that affected portal numbers, the 3 true freshmen. Jermaine Bishop won at inside receiver. They like Dalen McCutcheon. They've got Emmett Mosley that can play there, but they know they got to get Jermaine Bishop on the field. If they would have brought in another receiver, that would have been more difficult. Tyler Atkinson at linebacker is another true freshman that affected portal numbers. They love him. They think he's going to play early. I think he's maybe a little bit similar to Biles and Ty Anthony. But so, we'll see how that goes. But he's going to play a lot. And then Derek Cooper at running back. I'm not saying that they won't take somebody out of the portal that's a body, but they didn't feel like they need to go get a bigger running back because of Derek Cooper. And they feel like he's going to be ready as a true freshman. So those are the 3 guys, but I can't wait to see Jermaine. If Niblett wasn't there, he would probably be the punt returner from day one. He got extremely high football character. He's all ball all the time. So when you learn that about the mental eval on top of the obvious athletic gifts, it's just okay. He's a can't miss player for the most part, as long barring injury. How soon does he know the playbook, and is he on the same page with running the routes, match the coverage, and getting on the same page with Arch? He's going to play a lot.
Tell me what you guys think about this. First off, Bishop goes to Z in my scenario. He's not a slot because of this. I've never seen a third string slot ever play for Sark, ever. And like the third string like almost doesn't exist. So it's like if you have Cam backed up by Lockett, Emmett in the slot backed up by Dalen, Wingo at Z backed up by Bishop. Now you have this 2 deep you feel really good about and can play easily. But I know some people push back. They're like, no, Bishop has to be in the slot. So I'm just kind of asking y'all after watching him, do you think he can do outside?
You put him anywhere. Just get him the ball. You try to get the ball in space with Bishop, man, and he's going to do the rest. If it's jet sweeps, if it's orbit motion, right, swing passes, like you can put him outside. You just want to go win 1-on-1 versus somebody, right? Maybe you motion him out there or stack formations. There's so many different ways you can get him the ball. You just want to get the ball in his hands and then let him create magic, man. He's just a special player.
Well, in that scenario, you could also move Emmett Mosley back to back up Wingo. You lose you lose that blocking component from the slot that we saw with.
I want Emmett in the starting lineup.
Yeah. So there's a couple different ways to skin the cat, but it also, when we hear about Bishop, I guess I should have thrown this in that he's going to be a gadget guy too, and normally your gadget guy isn't lined up outside.
Yeah, unless you can go tunnel screens, you can bring him.
Yeah, you can go tunnel screen, and he can go climb the ladder too. So you could throw him fades, and he's just going to go up and out athlete somebody. So
just switch release him. Like he can be start on the outside. I don't care. Switch release him to a route on the inside.
He can play there. Or he can do it. Sark doesn't really care about the super rigid templates that Tom Herman did at receiver. You had your tall tower, at boundary. Your pure speed guy outside, and then your shiftiest slot, or maybe he liked the slot machine, the powerful guy that was kind of a running back after the catch. Yeah. Sark doesn't matter, man. He's just trying to get guys open.
Well, that's my thing. This is all just my wish for Sark to rotate more heavily. So anytime I hear that he might be a third option, I'm like, third option doesn't exist. So it's like get him to a second option.
Well, if Wingo doesn't get better running vertical routes, then you lose a lot of value of having the Z receiver. Obviously he's going to be great on the perimeter. You want that for sure. But that guy's got to be able to win deep. Now I think he's going to do it. We saw signs of it. There was times this year where he was missed on those throws, and there were also times when they had to shelve it because Arch didn't have time. But he made some plays down the field later in the year. Most obviously that touchdown against A&M where he did a really good job contorting his body and adjusting to the ball.
Yeah, that's the big move for Wingo.
Yeah.
Who do you think will get more carries, Smothers or Brown? They both have a great athletic profile. I think Smothers is farther along as a true running back. And not by a mile, like close, but just from watching tape, I think Smothers is a little bit a step ahead at running back. What do you guys think, though?
I think Smothers will get more carries. He's a little bigger of a body than Brown. Brown doesn't need that many touches to go score, right? I think he's special in that way. But Smothers could be your 15, 20 carries a game, or Brown could maybe get 10 to 12. I don't know. However you want to split it. I don't know.
Smothers is a better inside runner, but he's still good outside, so that gives him the nod as far as getting more carries. Ralik is going to get more receptions, I would guess. Smothers more like Wisner 2 years ago, although Smothers is a better, more dynamic player, and then Brown more like Jaden Blue 2 years ago, except he won't disappear down the stretch.
Unneeded, unnecessary. All right, I think everyone wants him to get the Malachi Tony treatment. That's the Miami freshman.
There's always that hot new name, huh?
Yep. But he does move like him. One of the guys I pointed out because I just watched the Miami semifinal before, and then I watched Smothers tape right after, and I was like, he has that there's like 8 guys around him, but further enough away where he can carve. Smothers has that too, and that's what he would look like. Tony would look like when he get the inside screens. So I'm not too mad at that comparison because they actually do move similarly and have a similar skill set in battle. How long will Arch be out for the spring?
Didn't we report? Oh, I think the school reported that he's going to. I don't know. I need to see that. I was on a quasi vacation last week. We never heard that he's going to miss the spring. So
what's your skiing level, dude? I don't know anything about him. I just know Black Diamonds. But where are you at, man? What's your skill level out there?
Yeah, I mean, I can do diamonds, but it's, the older I get, the more scared I am. So,
yeah. Have you always skied? Did you grow up skiing?
Yeah, I've skied for 40 years now, unfortunately, but that ties into why my level is dropping. I'll go fast on a groomer. It doesn't matter how steep it is. I'll go fast on that. But when there's bumps and rocks, it's just,
You got a wife and kids now, brother. You can't be smacking into trees. I'm
more excited. My kid went for the first time. I'm much more excited about watching him ski than I was. And I took him up to the top of the hill like my stepdad did back in the day.
Yeah.
and getting him down was quite the work. I was sweating like crazy, but it's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, he had surgery on his foot.
Yeah.
Now, one thing with that injury list, and if I pull it up, if I could, but a lot of them were like, hey, they're going to be back for fall. Like smart PR framing, right? Like they'll be back for fall, but the hint is that they're going to miss spring. And so there's some spots there, right? Like Gooseby being out. And then if you play Baker at left tackle.
Goosby's missing the spring. We know that.
Right. So it's like you move Baker to left tackle, but well, that's not good. I want Baker at right guard or whatever if he's going to play guard. And then Ty Smith, well, it sounds like he'll be out for the spring from how they phrased it. And it's like, that's not good. I want you to get linebacker reps. So like some of these things, they kind of framed it as a, hey, they'll be back, but not necessarily perfect for me because a lot of these guys, I want them to have the spring. But there's nothing I can do about it. I can't.
Yeah, I want Baker at right guard full time. How are you going to get a read on him if you don't do that?
Yeah.
Like we said, I should just write a list of all the mysteries we've got to solve this offseason.
Yeah. Man. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
No, do y'all see Bishop, Lockett, Mosley splitting reps? So I think they're all going to be at different positions. Lockett is definitely going to be the backup to Cam Coleman. That just makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. And
he is going to play a good amount next season. Mosley looks like destined for the slot. And then we just talked about that with Bishop. Rewind this thing about 5 minutes, and we discussed that.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. I want you to head over to Inside Texas. You can join for just $1. We would absolutely love to see you over there. And this was IT Live brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. All my Texans, stay warm out there. Later.